Yeah. So the Government of India Act 1935 changed the structure of Indian government from unitary to that of federal type. What does unitary mean, students? No, united is not basically the exact meaning here. United can be taken up as a grammatical meaning, but what Kritika, did you said one type of government? All right. So one type of government is the exact answer. And what is federal? Yeah, tell me. Okay, but then there is another explanation to it. Exactly. So, a situation where the system of government in which several states form a unity but remain independent in internal affairs. So, state government. So, in India, we also follow a federal structure because our state laws are also different from that of the central laws. We have state. So, इतना simple समझ लो, unitary government होता है one form of government और federal type होता है जिसमें एक सरकार सेंट्रल लेवल पे भी फंक्शन कर रही है and then the state government also has their own laws and bylaws when it comes to internal affairs. Okay, all right. Okay, so moving on, the distribution of powers between the center and the provinces required the balance to avoid disputes which would have risen between the constituent units and the federation. The system, यहाँ पे भी कुछ underline नहीं करना है, I'll let you know because this is like all theory. The system of federation clearly demanded the creation of a, now underline from here. The system of federation clearly demanded the creation of a federal court which would have jurisdiction over the states as well as the provinces. The original jurisdiction was confined to disputes between the units of the dominion or between the dominion and any of the units. So, you dominion किसी को पता है? Anyone? Dominion means sovereignty or control, like immense, like the utmost power or control is called dominion, right? So units of the dominion were the highest power in the government. So dominion was that unit of the government which held everything, which controlled everything. All right. Next up, next line, the private individuals had no right to sue any dominion before the federal court. Yes, because the dominions were the most controlling power in the state, in the country. So why could anybody file a case against them? The private individuals had no right. The federal court also had appellate and advisory jurisdiction. Okay, students, underline the word appellate and advisory jurisdiction, and this would be a homework task for you. Add it in your assignment to find and write the meaning of appellate and advisory jurisdictions. There are not a lot of students today, but I hope you all are listening carefully. Underline the terms advisory and appellate jurisdiction and add it in your assignment. I want you to mention it in the last as to what are the meanings of the definitions of advisory and appellate jurisdiction. Alright, got it? You studied this, then that's very nice, and I hope you don't find any trouble while writing an answer to this. Let me know if you have any trouble. Okay. Okay. Now we move on to Constituent Assembly. Okay. So किसी को Constituent Assembly पता है? Constituent Assembly क्या होता है? Exactly, the assembly that was held responsible. They were elected representatives, and they were supposed to draft the Indian constitution and everything. So yes, they were held responsible, and they were also the backbone behind it. All right. So after the World War II, which ended in 45, India's independence from the British wall was around the corner. During the winter of 45 and 46, general elections for India's provincial legislatures or assemblies were held. These legislatures elected the members of the Constituent Assembly that would draft the Constitution of India. ठीक है, ये यहाँ पे ध्यान देते रहना, यहाँ पे स्टोरी लाइन चल रही है. All right, for example, when you see a movie, this is the beginning. So if like ever you want to understand about the constitution and its making, like in general also, this is like a kind of preface, pre-back story. So यहाँ पे ध्यान देना. So these legislatures elected the members of the Constituent Assembly that would draft the Constitution of India. Although in December 46, the Constituent Assembly was ready in place in New Delhi, the Muslim League demanded for a separate Pakistan, delayed its work for creating the new constitution. So see, हम लोग को ऐसा पता है कि 1950 में हमारा कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पावर में आया, राइट? बट हियर why did it take from 1946 to 1950? Because when the Constituent Assembly was ready in New Delhi, the Muslim Committee League demanded that they wanted a separate Pakistan, and hence that demand delayed its work for creating the new constitution. Got it? And then the next line is about the independence. On 15th August 1947, after the last, यहाँ से underline कर लो, ये तुम्हारा general knowledge के लिए. After the last Viceroy of British India, Lord Louis Mountbatten. Always remember in GK or in any trivia, people ask you questions, who was the last Viceroy of British India before or the year of independence? Lord Mountbatten. Okay. So last Viceroy of British India, Lord Louis Mountbatten, declared India and Pakistan as two different independent countries. The Constituent Assembly continued with its mandate to create the new Constitution of India. So you see, Lord Mountbatten played an important role where he stopped that delay of separating India and Pakistan, right? We are not talking about pros and cons of, differentiating India and Pakistan. We are just stating that India and Pakistan को किसने different किया था. That was Lord Mountbatten, and hence when this was done, the Constituent Assembly continued its mandate to create the new Constitution of India. Okay. Next paragraph. The Constitution had members mostly from the Congress Party with a few communists and independents. In 1885, Allen Octavian Hume, an Englishman, had formed the Congress Party to enable Indian participation in less popular British government. See, students, ये जो timeline है ना, इसको देख के you don't get confused, क्योंकि ये जैसे हुआ है उसी प्रकार उसी तरह से दिया हुआ है. So you don't have to get confused even a little bit. So are you all getting it? Tushar, Lotus, Sakshi, Piyush, Akarshan, why is your camera switched off? You're doing this today again. You'll be notified for that by other teachers. Kindly switch on your webcam. Shania, your camera is also off. Rest other students, their cameras are on. Was Shania even attending the class? I don't know. Yes, she is. Okay. Alright, we'll move forward with it. Okay, so in 1921, post World War I, Mohandas Karamchand, Mr. M.K. Gandhi assumed the leadership of the Congress Party and led the movement for India's independence. यहाँ से तो आप लोगों ने history में पढ़ा ही होगा what happened. 2 line का लिखा है, and then last में it's given India's first law minister, Dr. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar, was appointed as the chairman of Constitution Drafting Committee. And students, remember, this was the man, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the main man, the main pillar behind the formation of the Indian Constitution. All right. Okay, so whenever I ask you who was the backbone behind the formation of Constitution of India, who was the first law minister and the head of the law commission, always name Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. All right. So are you clear with this? And one personal question to all of you. See, I've heard that students are still opting in and opting out of legal studies. So, अगर ऐसा आता है, if you face any sort of trouble where you are not able to understand the subject, but you are interested, you can always bother me with all the portals and links that you've been given, right? You'll also be provided with a mail ID in future if there is anything, any heavy notes kind of thing that you don't come across and you require. Always feel free to ask me. The portal has been provided to you on the school. Do not hesitate, right? Okay. So now next topic is description of the Indian Constitution. अच्छा स्टूडेंट्स, उसके नीचे आप लोगों को प्रियम्बल दिख रहा है ना? All right. So I don't know, but if there are chances, ये देखो preamble is only like 6 to 7 lines, and that too like very in points. ठीक है? So if there is a chance that this is popped up in your question paper, you'll have to write it same as it is, word by word, because this is a poetic structure that has to be similar in its beginning and the end. All right? Okay. So the description of the Indian Constitution, it says the Indian Constitution was adopted on January 26, 1950. It consists of a preamble, 395 articles and 12 schedules. Now let me be very clear, you'll have to edit this part because there has been an amendment in January 2020. Amendment का क्या मतलब होता है students? Yes, change. So as of the amendment, आप लोग के पास notebook है ना? It says 395 articles and 12 schedules, right? But as per the amendment, now the constitution has 448 articles and 12 schedules and 25 parts. ठीक है? इसको आप लोग फिर से लिख लो, 448 articles in 25 parts and 12 schedules. ठीक है? Kindly note this down. This has to be a change in your subject matter. Maybe at the time of the compilation of this chapter, I might have used some old notes as well from my books. So this was given there. So change it to 448 articles and 25 parts and 12 schedules. Okay. Next up is the preamble is the introductory statement in the Constitution. Articles are, यहाँ से underline करो. Articles are the provisions or rules, and the schedules are like the annexure providing details on specific issues. So whenever you are asked in general or in the question paper, what are articles that are given in the Constitution, you write articles are the provisions or rules, and the schedules are like the annexure providing details on specific issues. And you'll also get more details if you want to read on Wikipedia. Okay. The next line, Constitution is detailed and lengthy and covers the entire nation, and central government has uniform provisions for all the state governments. So in short, यहाँ Constitution की बढ़ाई करी जा रही है that it's a very detailed body of rules. It's a huge structure, lengthy structure for the entire nation, central government and state government provisions. All right. The provisions for both the central and the state governments are consistent and based on parliamentary system. So this whole paragraph under description of Constitution is important, students. So kindly mark it. Lastly, it says the president is the head of the state of India. The president appoints governor in each state. अच्छा students, I need to ask you all one thing. जैसे यहाँ पे लिखा है ना, the president is the head of the state of India, right? तो state से तुम लोग को मालूम है कि उत्तर प्रदेश, मध्य प्रदेश state वो होता है. But you know, India को in old political science texts, a country was also called a state, because a state used to be a huge piece of land governed by a body of rules and a government. So the word country and nation came in later, but the word state was used commonly for everything, whether it was country or whether it was a state. दोनों चीजों के लिए ये word state ही use होता था. So do you understand? So whenever I say state of India, confuse मत होना कि सर ने गलत बोल दिया है, इंडिया को state नहीं कहते हैं. But then state of India is in line with the whole piece of land that is being governed. Okay? Alright. So इसके बाद जो preamble है, that I'm not going to read, वो आप लोग पढ़ लेना, and you have to gulp it down in the very same manner, head to toe जैसा वो दिया हुआ है. ठीक है? उसके बाद लास्ट पैराग्राफ में कुछ लिखा है, इंडिया वाज एस्टैब्लिश्ड एज अ यूनियन ऑफ स्टेट्स विद हाईली सेंट्रलाइज्ड फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर विद अ स्ट्रॉन्ग सेंटर इन रिलेशन विद द स्टेट्स. द ओरिजिनल प्रीएम्बल प्रोवाइडेड दैट इंडिया शैल बी अ सॉवरेन डेमोक्रेटिक रिपब्लिक. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, ये लाइन अंडरलाइन करो. सॉवरेन डेमोक्रेटिक रिपब्लिक, इंडिया शैल बी अ सॉवरेन डेमोक्रेटिक रिपब्लिक. ये तीनों वर्ड्स की मीनिंग आप लोगों को रटा होना चाहिए. You should be very, very, very well aware of these three words. Since you are studying legal studies, you might study other different subjects as well. Always remember the words, the meanings of these three words. Okay, got it? Okay. It was later in 76, the words socialist and secular were added to the preamble. These two words again, socialist and secular, also underlined. The constitution provides for adult suffrage movement. पता है सबको क्या होता है? Universal adult franchise. Social studies में, political science में पढ़ा होगा. Civics में क्या होता है? Universal adult franchise. किसको पता है? Yes, Lotus. Exactly. So I guess everybody is saying Piyush, Avishi, Lotus, Khushi, everybody answered and all the answers were correct. Yes, it's the rule where a person who crosses the minor age of 18 becomes a major and is allowed to vote. Okay? Alright, good. You people are up with your regular knowledge. Good, that's nice. ऐसे ही मैं कह रहा था, if you find doubts, if you have problems in anywhere in the subject matter, do let me know. Now we will head on to the next topic directly, which is fundamental rights and directive principles of state policy. Okay? Fundamental rights पता है सबको? ये भी पढ़ा होगा? पढ़ा है? अगर असाइनमेंट में फंडामेंटल राइट से रिलेटेड कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं है तो उसमें समझ लेना मैं बाद में क्वेश्चन दूंगा, लाइक राइट डाउन ऑल द फंडामेंटल राइट्स प्रोवाइडेड इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. ठीक है, ये बाद की बात है, बट दिस इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, ऑलवेज कम्स अप. चाहे आप 11th में हो, 12th में हो या आप लॉ कर रहे हो कॉलेज में, दिस क्वेश्चन ऑलवेज पॉप्स अप. ऑलराइट. So, in the Indian Constitution, the human rights provisions are set out in 2 chapters. Part 3 of the Constitution provides for fundamental rights, largely of political and civil nature, which are enforceable by court of law. The rights in this chapter include, अब ये ब्रैकेट देखो, तुम्हारा जो ब्रैकेट बना है, ये 4th लाइन से जो स्टार्ट हो रहा है ना, ये लास्ट तक जा रहा है, दिख रहा है सबको? 4th लाइन से जा रहा है और लास्ट तक ये ब्रैकेट है. So wait, I'll do one thing. Shania, can you read out from where the paragraph begins till where the paragraph ends? Yes, from the bracket, the 4th line of this paragraph, equality before law. Matters of public employment. So you see, so many kinds of rights have been provided under the heading of fundamental rights. मतलब कुछ ऐसा है जो रह गया है. You people being the young citizens of India, do you think there is anything left out? Every right has been provided here, right? So इसमें से, while you are writing the answer for an introduction to fundamental rights, I am not saying bracket ends, bracket opens से bracket end तक लिखना, but try writing the maximum that you can write, क्योंकि बाकी तो तुम्हें दिख रहा होगा तुम स्टूडेंट्स को कि ये सारी कॉमन चीज़ें जो हम लोग को पता है. डिस्क्रिमिनेशन नहीं होना चाहिए, बच्चों के खिलाफ ऑफेंसेस नहीं होने चाहिए, and there should be proper academic schooling for everyone, there should be personal rights and liberties. So there are many common daily things that crosses your mind is mentioned as a right under fundamental rights. Get it? Okay. Any confusion in fundamental rights as of now? Anyone? कोई problem? एक बार देख लो उसमें कोई ऐसा टर्म है जो नहीं समझ में आ रहा है. Taha, beta, your webcam is off. Kindly switch it on. Rochak, any problem as of now? Kritika? Shanya, Abhilasha, Avishi, Rayan, Sakshi? Piyush, Kumi, got it? Okay. Next paragraph, it says about the directive principles of state policy. एकदम शॉर्ट में बता देता हूँ मैं डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी का क्या मतलब होता है. पहली बात, इसका शॉर्ट फॉर्म हम लोग लिखते हैं, नॉट ऑल द टाइम वी राइट द फुल फॉर्म फॉर दिस, वी नोटिफाई इट एज DPSP. ओके, सो directive principles of state policy is some sort of policies that are made and directed towards the state government as to how a state would function and the state government would function, right? So fundamental rights दिए गए हैं citizens के लिए, that citizens should act in a particular manner, and these are XYZ their rights, that you can use them, not make misuse of those rights, but use them in a good way. Similarly, there are certain policies that are directed to the state and the state government, because if the state government, because we are living in a federal structure, and if the state government has no direction, has no policy, has no set of rules कि किस तरह हमारे citizens को certain bylaws के through aware कराना है, there would be a ruckus in the whole state, and hence when that increases, it spreads out to the whole country. So directive principles of the state policy is something that directs the state and the head of the state and the government in which manner things should function around the state. Got it? This is like the small gist of DPSP. उसके बाद if we start reading, it says that the directive principles of state policy are included in chapter 4 of the constitution. These are guiding principles governing state policies in the social sector. ये सेकंड लाइन अंडरलाइन कर दो, इससे तुमको सारा मीनिंग समझ में आ जाएगा. These are the guiding principles governing state policies in the social sector. अब देखो उसके बाद से इसमें भी वैसे ही थर्ड लाइन से लास्ट तक पूरा दिया. क्या दिया है? The provisions laid in this part include right to an adequate means of livelihood, right to equal pay of equal work for both men and women, right to healthy working conditions for men, women and children, protection to children against exploitation and against moral and material abandonment, provision for equal justice and free legal aid, organization of village panchayats or local village bodies as units of self-governments, right to work, education, public assistance in case of employment, etc. etc. So you see, जितना simple और जितनी vast list fundamental rights में थी, उतनी simplified और उतनी vast list falls under DPSP part 4. Any problem, any trouble till here? Any terminology that makes you lose your focus? नहीं समझ में आ रहा है कुछ ऐसा? Ask me. Akarshan, do you have your notes with you? I cannot hear you, Akarshan. अच्छा, you have a soft copy. Okay. ठीक है. So, shall I move on? All okay with this topic? Okay. The next topic is center and state relations. अब इसके बाद जो भी topic है ना, we are at the end of the chapter. It's very simplified. Center और state relation का क्या मतलब है? Central government और state governments के बीच का relation. Of how do they function? उनके बीच के सारे rules, laws, bylaws. How do they fall, under a common chart, and how do they function? We'll go through this. Various articles and schedules of the Constitution lay down rules about the powers of the central and the state governments, as well as the relations between them. The seventh schedule contains 3 legislative lists. यहाँ से underline करो the seventh schedule से. The seventh schedule contains 3 legislative lists, union list, state list and the concurrent list. इसके बारे में पढ़ा है कभी, सुना है? Civics में सुना है? Union list, state list. All right. Okay. So you people have an idea. Okay. अब देखो आगे क्या लिखा है. These 3 lists define the legislative jurisdictions. तुम लोगों को ये चीज पता है गवर्नमेंट की 3 मेन बॉडी होती है. इसको पेंसिल से लिख लो कहीं पे भी. गवर्नमेंट की 3 मेन बॉडी होती है, एग्जीक्यूटिव, लेजिस्लेचर एंड जुडिशरी. ठीक है, एग्जीक्यूटिव, लेजिस्लेचर एंड जुडिशरी. सिंपल सा काम बता रहा हूँ. लेजिस्लेचर बॉडी का मतलब होता है लॉ बनाना, एल फॉर लेजिस्लेचर, एल फॉर लॉ मेकिंग. एग्जीक्यूटिव बॉडी का मतलब होता है EXE, एग्जीक्यूटिव, EXE एग्जीक्यूशन एंड इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ दोज लॉज जो लेजिस्लेचर ने बनाया है. जुडिशरी का काम होता है जुडिशियल रिव्यू ऑफ दोज लॉज. तो सब उसी वर्ड से निकल के आ रहा है. लेजिस्लेचर स्टार्ट्स विद L, लॉ मेकिंग स्टार्ट्स विद L, एग्जीक्यूटिव स्टार्ट्स विद E, एग्जीक्यूशन एंड इम्प्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ लॉज स्टार्ट्स विद E. तो ये टिप्स एंड ट्रिक्स है, इसको समझ जाओ. 3 पार्ट्स ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट. लास्ट इज जुडिशरी. Judiciary makes a judicial review over the laws, bylaws. That's it. तो ये 3 body of the government है, 3 main body, 3 only bodies of the government. Always know about this. Okay? हर मतलब law से related हर subject में, law से related जो different subjects होते हैं सब में आएगा. Okay? And I'm like hoping that you people have a good knowledge about it. Okay? Okay. So these 3 lists define the legislative jurisdictions. The central government has the exclusive legislative authority to frame laws over matters listed in the union list. And आगे देखो क्या लिखा है. There are 99 items in the union list that include foreign affairs, defense, communications, post, telegraph, foreign trade, etc. Next line. The state governments ordinarily have the authority on matters stated in the state list. And there are exceptional situations, however, such as emergency, national interest and international trade, when the center can legislate on matters in the state lists. अब एक चीज समझ लो, सेंट्रल लिस्ट सबसे बड़ी होती है. ओके, सेंट्रल लिस्ट के पास पावर है पूरे कंट्री की कुछ सिचुएशंस में अपने लॉज बनाने की, है ना. सिमिलरली स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के पास पावर्स है स्टेट इमरजेंसीज, स्टेट सिचुएशंस में अपने लॉज बनाने की, राइट. बट ये जो 4 एक्सेप्शंस दिए स्क्रीन पे तुम लोग के सामने, इमरजेंसी और देखो और क्या क्या है, इमरजेंसी हो गया, नेशनल इंटरेस्ट हो गया, इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड हो गया. जब ये 3 एक्सेप्शंस आएंगी ना स्टेट लिस्ट में भी, तो इस पे सेंट्रल ही काम करेगा, स्टेट नहीं काम करता है. सेंट्रल लिस्ट अपने परफॉर्म तो करेगा ही करेगा अपने फंक्शंस, बट स्टेट लिस्ट में जब ये 3 चीज आ जाती है, इमरजेंसी, नेशनल इंटरेस्ट एंड इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड, then also the central list would only function as law making. तब state list नहीं करेगा, even though it is the state's responsibility. This is an exception. Okay? उसके बाद क्या दिया है, there are exceptional situations हो गया. There are 61 subjects in the state list. जैसे union list में 99 items थे, यहाँ स्टेट लिस्ट में 61 आइटम्स है. और क्या क्या इंक्लूडेड है, पब्लिक ऑर्डर, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ पुलिस, जस्टिस, पुलिस, प्रिजन, लोकल गवर्नमेंट, ऐसे ही करके. उसके बाद क्या आता है लास्ट में देखो, कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट के लिए बोथ पार्लियामेंट एंड स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर्स हैव पावर ओवर मैटर्स एन्यूमरेटेड इन द कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट. यूनियन लिस्ट होती है सेंट्रल, स्टेट लिस्ट होती है स्टेट के लिए, कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट पार्लियामेंट और स्टेट को मिला के बनाई जाती है. ओके, देखो यहाँ लिखा है ना, बोथ पार्लियामेंट एंड स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर्स हैव पावर्स ओवर matters enumerated in the concurrent list. However, the parliament has supremacy in this list, obviously, and concurrent list में it comprises of 52 items, includes criminal and civil procedure, marriage, divorce, economic planning, trade unions, electricity, etc. और कुछ नहीं है. तो एक क्विक रिविजन में अगर देखो तो सेंट्रल लिस्ट में यूनियन लिस्ट में 99 आइटम्स है, स्टेट लिस्ट में 61 आइटम्स है, जिसमें से इमरजेंसी, नेशनल इंटरेस्ट और इंटरनेशनल ट्रेड पे एक्सेप्शन है कि सेंटर यूनियन लिस्ट ही काम करेगा. लास्ट आता है कॉन्करेंट लिस्ट, जो पार्लियामेंट और स्टेट के साथ मिलके बना है, जिसमें पार्लियामेंट का डोमिनेंस होता है और इसमें 52 आइटम्स होते हैं. एनी प्रॉब्लम टिल हियर? Like this is the simplest language I can deliver you in. और इसके बाद भी if you have any trouble kindly ask me. Any problem till here? All right, okay. Next topic is emergency. The emergency अब देखो ये जो 4 टॉपिक्स है ना, emergency, judicial system, houses of the parliament and amendment to the constitution, ये चारों चीज हमने civics में और social science में पढ़ा है. So ध्यान देना यहाँ पे, we'll go through it in one go. The emergency provisions are provided in part, what is this, X18 are provided in the part 18 of the constitution. These provide that during emergency the central government may supersede the state government. जो पिछले पैराग्राफ में नहीं लिखा था कि emergency का जब provision आता है तो union list ही काम करेगा, that was an exception, state list नहीं काम करेगा. तो यहीं पे देखो फिर से वही, that is the same thing which is mentioned here, that these provide that during emergency the central government may supersede the state government and rule the country or one or more states in a unitary fashion. ये underline कर दो. Underline. All right. उसके बाद दिया गया है, the president who is advised by the cabinet of ministers at the center proclaims the state of emergency. Simple. Emergency कौन बटन प्रेस कर सकता है emergency ऑन करने का? President. All right. So the president has the power or the authority to issue an emergency in the country or in the state. Okay. President की power होती है ये, not मोदी जी. Next, the grounds of emergency are threat to the nation from internal or external sources, failure of the constitutional machinery of the state, and situations of financial crisis. 2019 में we had started facing, we were in the mid of a GDP drop crisis, right? सबको पता होगा. So that was a kind of situation which required an emergency, but then we were hit by COVID-19 and that was even a bigger emergency, and hence we are all sitting at home and studying. ठीक है. फेलियर ऑफ द, उसके बाद अकॉर्डिंगली द प्रेसिडेंट इज कंसर्न टू डिक्लेयर, अब यहाँ से अंडरलाइन अगेन, अकॉर्डिंगली द प्रेसिडेंट इज कंसर्न टू डिक्लेयर 3 टाइप्स ऑफ इमरजेंसीज, नेशनल, स्टेट एंड फाइनेंशियल इमरजेंसी. एंड ड्यूरिंग द पीरियड ऑफ इमरजेंसी द प्रेसिडेंट में ओवरराइड प्रोविजंस ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंक्लूडिंग द फंडामेंटल राइट्स. प्रोविजन में एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज क्या हो सकती है कि द प्रेसिडेंट कैन ओवरराइड द प्रोविजंस ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन इंक्लूडिंग द fundamental rights. Acha, just a general trivia question. COVID-19 is what kind of an emergency? What kind of an emergency? National, financial, yeah, state? It's a national emergency because the whole of India is facing the same situation which the city of Allahabad is facing or the state of Uttar Pradesh is facing, right? But the exception for COVID-19 would be that it is also a global emergency because the United Nations is getting involved, all the countries are getting involved, so it's a global emergency. ठीक है. Global emergency भी एक चीज होती है, उसके बारे में भी तुम लोग अगर if you get time read out about it on Wikipedia, you will get to know what global emergency is. Okay. Next topic is judicial system. The judicial system includes the Supreme Court, the High Court and the subordinate courts. The Supreme Court is the highest court or the apex court in India. It has original, appellate and advisory. Students, तुम लोग को पता है ना, मैंने appellate और advisory jurisdiction तुम लोग को part of the homework में दिया है, भूलना नहीं इसको. You have to write it and show it to me. Appellate, not today or not today, but tomorrow. ठीक है. Since we, अच्छा, by the way, since we'd be ending the chapter today, all the topics, so kindly start submitting your assignments from today or tomorrow itself. Today itself or tomorrow. All right. And if you get stuck somewhere, drop me a submission on the portal. All right. Okay. Under its original jurisdiction, it takes up disputes involving Government of India and state governments. Individuals or group of individuals may approach the Supreme Court for enforcement of their fundamental rights or human rights as enumerated. The Supreme Court is the final court of appeal (appellate jurisdiction) for cases from all courts and tribunals in India. मतलब अगर कोई केस डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट से हाई कोर्ट से सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाता है, तो ऑलवेज रिमेंबर स्टूडेंट्स, द सुप्रीम कोर्ट इज द लास्ट एंड द फाइनल स्टेज फॉर दैट केस टू गो इन एज एन अपील. वो वहां जाके सुप्रीम कोर्ट पे फाइनल डिसीजन ही आना है, उससे ऊपर इट कैन नॉट गो एनीवेयर. ऑलराइट, अंडरस्टूड? After that, the Supreme Court is the final. हो गया. In its advisory jurisdiction, the Supreme Court provides its opinion to the President of India when the latter specifically requests for such opinions on questions of law or public importance. यहाँ पे जो हम लोग को appellate jurisdiction और advisory jurisdiction दिया है, वो Supreme Court के consideration में दिया है ना? वो बता रहा है यहाँ पे, the paragraph tells us what Supreme Court does in its appellate and advisory jurisdiction. But in general में what happens, you'll have to figure that out and send it to me as assignment. यहाँ पे kindly underline from the Supreme Court is the final court of appeal से लेके public importance तक. Alright, done. Next line, it's about the high courts now. So high court exists in most states, but some high courts have jurisdiction over more than one state. For example, Allahabad High Court, it is in Uttar Pradesh, and it used to have jurisdictions not only just for Allahabad, but also for Kanpur, Lucknow and Varanasi. Now that we have a high court in Lucknow, so Lucknow looks up for Lucknow and Kanpur itself, and Allahabad works for Allahabad and Varanasi. So ये यहाँ पे भी mention हो रहा है about jurisdiction of high court. Even after being in one city, अब जिस किसी का case अगर high court में लग रहा है and that person is from Banaras, the case is from Banaras, it can also have a hearing in the court of Allahabad. Alright, High Court of Allahabad. Because it's about the bench rule, वो आप लोग आगे पढ़ोगे कि bench कैसे काम करता है. वाराणसी की bench भी यहाँ होगी, यहाँ की bench वहाँ होगी. That you will come to know in the future time. Okay. Next, it says high courts have original jurisdiction over matters of fundamental rights and appellate jurisdiction over its subordinate courts and tribunals. Subordinate courts पता है क्या होते हैं तुम लोग को? Anyone? Lotus, what is a subordinate court? District courts and the other tribunals. You people have been to civil lines? All of you have been to civil lines? You've seen that huge building of LIC, Life Insurance Corporation of India. उसके left side में, if you people must have noticed, there is a building called CAT, C-A-T. And CAT का full form is Central Administrative Tribunal. Alright, in Hindi it is called Kendriya Prashasanik Adhikaran. So Central Administrative Tribunal is also a kind of a subordinate court. So below the level of High Court, the term subordinate courts is used. It's not called district courts because under High Court we have district courts as well as we have tribunals. So that is why the term subordinate courts is used, not just district courts. Alright? Okay, moving on. Now, do you people have any problem till here? Judicial system में तीन तरह के courts होते हैं, कुछ दिक्कत है as such? Do you people find any trouble? Anything or else like मुझे वरना sheet में पूरा नाम देखना पड़ता है, सबसे पूछना पड़ता है personally. तो इसलिए you people tell me if you have any trouble, any doubt. Okay, so I'm getting like yes. Tribunal का basically देखो, tribunal is also a kind of court, but it is not like as per the area wise. अब जैसे तुमने high court और district court देखा होगा, it's spread out in a very large area, right? Tribunal is constricted to first of all its area. Tribunal is very small in size, and why is it small in size? Because it looks up into only one kind of matter. For example, that CAT body that I was telling you, Central Administrative Tribunal, वो सिर्फ administrative level के cases देखता है, that too on a central basis. ठीक है, सेंटर और स्टेट के जो भी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव केसेस हैं जो बहुत हाई एंड होते हैं, दैट कम्स अप इनटू कैट. बिकॉज हाई कोर्ट ने अपनी सारे ऐसे छोटे छोटे ऑफिसेस को डेलीगेट कर दिया है, विच स्टार्ट्स एट द लेवल ऑफ डिस्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट्स. So these tribunals also hold up a very high value. All right. All right. You will see real advocates working in tribunals. There won't be कि वो office है वहाँ पे आप जाओ अपना paper submit करो. There are courtrooms. Judges are sitting inside tribunals. It's like that. Okay. Okay. Now we have the last two topics. First is houses of the parliament. लोक सभा राज्य सभा सबको पता है. Important चीज इसमें हमने बस यही देखनी है. The maximum strength of Lok Sabha is 552 members, and 550 members of the Lok Sabha are elected directly by the voting process who are above 18 years of age, and the remaining two are nominated from the Anglo-Indian community. उस दिन Anglo हम लोग और कुछ पढ़ रहे थे, Anglo-Hindu law पढ़ रहे थे, so Anglo-Indian is the same thing. So and the Rajya Sabha has 250 members, out of which 238 members are elected indirectly by state law-making bodies, and the president nominates the rest 12 members. इसमें बस यही जानना है तुम्हें, ठीक है? Last topic is since amendments of the constitution. Since its adoption in 1950, because it was adopted in 1950, the Indian constitution has amended more than 97 times. Can you even imagine? 1950 से अभी तक it has been amended 97 times. तो कितने ज़्यादा changes आए होंगे constitution में? Since the constitution was adopted with full of administrative detail, most of the amendments relate to administrative matters. Other amendments relate to debates without ideals, such as in the stated in the preamble. Here, right to education is an example, which was included in the fundamental rights chapter through an amendment to fulfill the social evolution or transformation agenda. So यहाँ पे बस यही बताया है कि amendment कैसे आता है, and students ये amendments of the constitution में एक last line add कर लो कि the latest amendment that took place in the constitution was in January 2020. I guess it was 25th of January or 20th of January. Most probably it must be 25th. So 25th January 2020 was the most recent amendment that took place in the constitutional body of laws. All right. Okay. Everyone, is it clear? All right. So congratulations, we have ended the first chapter successfully. I don't know about you people. I am very happy because I was told that you people are being, left out. मतलब law वाले बच्चे बेचारे एकदम परेशान हैं, and एक भी chapter नहीं हुआ था. The best part is we just have 7 chapters throughout, and I'm really happy that I completed the first chapter with you, and you people have started submitting assignments as well. पर यार एक स्टूडेंट कोई है, उसने मुझे कुछ असाइनमेंट भेजा था, but I don't see him attending the class only. So why did he send me the assignment? उसने कुछ 2-3-4 questions कर दिए थे शुरुआत के, but now the student is not attending the class. Left out the subject out of interest or what? चलो, no problem. अच्छा, now I'm going to ask you all a question and I want you all to be very honest, okay? अभी भी किसका मन है कि लीगल स्टडीज छोड़ दें? सही से बताओ. मतलब that I won't take it upon me कि मतलब मैं पढ़ा नहीं पा रहा हूँ, because I'm trying to work it out in every manner with you people so that you can understand each and everything. That's why I teach you line by